What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voyage RC. This is another build video for the XFactoryRC X6 cubed, and it is debag time. That's what Charlie Sanka would say, anyway. This one is gonna be the installation of the transmission and rear shock tower into the back of the vehicle. It's fairly straightforward. Not a whole lot of issues with this step. This can be the most time-consuming and hardest step of the build, but I found it wasn't too bad as long as you have the right tools and you've got a little experience building behind you. So you can see I've already got it done. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of talk you through it. There are a lot of aluminum parts on this one, so have your thread lock ready. Anytime you're screwing into aluminum, we always want to use the thread lock. That way it doesn't fall apart. Anyways, the first step of the build is going to be to place the two 3/8 flathead screws through the bottom of the chassis. And that's going to be these two here. So you're going to place those through from the bottom. Then you're going to place that 2mm hinge pin brace spacer, which is that carbon fiber piece, down over those holes. And there is just a heads up, there's one side of the brace that's kind of got a slight angle to it that matches up with the hinge pin brace itself, so you want to make sure you have that facing the right way. The straight side should be facing the rear of the vehicle. And once you have that slid over the screws, go ahead and put a dab of thread lock in each hole of the hinge pin brace, and you'll notice on the back side here, it's got the two holes in it. You want to make sure those bushing holes are facing the rear of the vehicle, and then you can go ahead and tighten down those two screws with it. You can go ahead and tighten them, you don't have to leave them loose or anything. Get that one all taken care of. Then after that, back to the bottom again, you're going to place two 3/8 flathead screws in these front holes, just behind the two you just tightened down. And then the 1-inch screws go in these holes here. Those have to be the 1-inch ones because they're going to slide all the way through the transmission, and everything's going to clamp down on that when we get to that step. But you can go ahead and place those in, and then get the transmission cradle, the aluminum piece, and go ahead and thread lock the front holes, and then tighten it down with the 3/8 screws in the front of it, and just slide it down over the 1-inch screws that are on the rear of it, and that'll kind of lock that in place and get us ready to mount the transmission. But before we do that, we got to motor plate support bracket right here. Just again, two 3/8 flathead screws. You'll notice that it's kind of offset from center. You want that offset to be towards the left of the vehicle. So looking towards the front, you want it offset to the left. That'll make sure everything lines up when you bolt it down. And you do need to put two spacers between it. That'll lift it up enough to where you can actually mount the motor plate when we get to that step. And then just be careful tightening these ones down. It is plastic, so if you over tighten it, you'll end up stripping it out and it won't do its job. So just be secure but not over tight. You get that on, we can slide the rear shock tower down over those 1-inch screws. You can see here they've already got the transmission and everything on, but this slides down over it. This is what you did in the previous step. The whole shock tower just slides down over that, and then you can secure it right here with this screw. This is the 1/2-inch cap head that you saved from the disassembly of the B4. You can go ahead and thread lock that and secure that down, and then that'll hold it in place. After that, we're gonna get to mounting the transmission. You're going to want to put, there's shims between the transmission and the cradle. This can be adjusted various heights, but go ahead and place the same size shim on all 4 of them. You want to make sure you're using the same spacers on all 4 corners. You don't want the transmission to be cockeyed at an angle or anything. So just go off what you want to start with and put the same on each of the 4 mounts, and then you're gonna pop the transmission down in there, being careful not to move the washers. The 2 rear ones will be fine because they'll be over those 1-inch screws, but it's the front ones that can slide out because there's nothing holding them there yet. And then you're going to want to have the washers on top of the transmission too, to help secure it when you go ahead and screw it in. The easiest way to do this is going to be to get this left side done first. It can be a little tricky getting in there, but you're just going to use a 440 by 3/8 bolt with the washer, and then just get in there and mount that one first. And then once that one's in, the transmission will be held in place, and it'll be easier to get this right side done. Go ahead and make sure you have that spacer between the transmission and the cradle, and then go ahead and tighten this one down too. The rear of the vehicle, rear of the transmission, gets held in by these 2 lock nuts. Those are the last 2 you're going to do. It's easier to do if you have a good wrench to do this with, so you can go in from the top and you have the space to get down in there. It can be a little tricky if you don't have the proper tools, so it is tight getting down in there. But once you get those in, the transmission will be secured in place, and that is probably the hardest step of this all, just because you're dealing with those spacers and getting into some tight spaces. But it's not too bad. Just take your time, you'll get it. This one here, if you have a ball end Allen wrench, you can get in there at the angle to get it good. That's what I used, so just a heads up on that. I use the factory team driver, and that comes with a 1 ball head driver, but that's the right size you need for this. So anyways, once that's on and secured down, you can move back to the front of it where this brace is against the motor plate, and you can go ahead and make sure that's lined up, and then slide your bolt through, and then use a washer and lock nut on the other side to secure it down. This just gives it some added rigidity and secures it a little better. That way you're not flexing up or down. And with that in, you're done. Just go over your bolts, make sure they're tight. Again, use thread lock on all the aluminum pieces. Just take your time. There are some tricky spots mounting the transmission down in there, but it's not too bad. So, with what most people would say is probably the worst step of the whole build, you now have complete. So congratulations, your D-bag is done. Anyways, thanks for watching. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. We're almost done with the build. We got, I think, 1 more bag, which is the rear suspension, and then we just finish it up with the electronics and all the other miscellaneous stuff. But we're getting this thing tied up. Thanks for watching. See you next time.